Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Stephanie Anduri.
I'm Dr. Graham Anduri.
And we wanted to come live today to talk about something that we both feel quite feisty about, actually. Even my very Swedish, very calm husband feels feisty about this.
It's been known to happen.
It has been known to happen once or twice, yes. But this is something that we have seen our entire lives in this industry, and it's something that needs to be broken down right now. And what we're talking about today is the gatekeeper mentality, that there is one valid path to follow, and if you are not on that path, someone is going to let you know, and they're going to let you know in a really harsh, awful way. This conversation came to light this week because, as many of you heard, at the Met in a production of I believe it was Ariadne af Naxos, which is a Strauss opera, Brenda Ray, a soprano, had just finished singing this extraordinarily challenging aria, and some heckler from the balcony yelled, "You have no technique," at her on the stage in front of an entire audience full of people thousands of people who have paid tickets to see her perform at the Met. And then this person stormed out and has since been blacklisted and is not allowed to go back and watch any shows at the Met. But I can't help but empathize with what Brenda Ray must have felt in those moments on the stage every time she had to make an entrance until the end of that production. How exposed and vulnerable and scared and ashamed she must have felt, to have sort of a scarlet letter just placed on her in the middle of a performance. I can't imagine how challenging that must have been. And while I've never been in that situation on a stage, I could probably count 25 times off the top of my head that I've been criticized harshly, really unkindly, for something that has happened in performing.
Absolutely. And I think most of us can think of a time at some point in our lives, in our singing lives, that we've been told that we weren't doing something enough. We weren't doing something good enough. We weren't sounding good enough. We didn't look good enough. We didn't have what it took. We weren't really singers. We weren't, something to that effect. So many people, we've heard so many stories from people that said, I was told I should never be a singer. I couldn't be a singer. I wasn't a singer, and that I should just stop and give up and do something else. And for some people, that's enough to just crumble them right then and there. And they give up on their dreams. For some other people, they overcome and they build that thick skin and they can make it happen. But because they have to build up that extra thick layer of protection, they're not able to be vulnerable on stage. They're not able to be emotionally authentic. They're not able to give a transformative performance because they're so conditioned to expect that intense and harsh criticism from somebody that they have to put up some barriers. And this is rampant in the performing arts industries.
Oh my goodness. I remember being an undergrad being told verbatim, you are not a memorable performer, and just being crushed by that. And the person who said those words to me is still a mentor and a friend of mine. I absolutely respect him. And I recognize that he felt like he was doing what was required of him. And this is what has been handed down through generations. I would say, especially toward women, we get our bodies criticized all the time. I remember Nats forms being mostly written about what I was wearing and how it was, if I wore a sleeveless shirt, I remember being told your shoulders aren't good enough for that. Or, my legs were too fair for me to not wear pantyhose when I was performing with something that didn't cover my legs. And excuse me. And so many of us have carried all of these insecurities with us. Excuse us. We are COVID-y over here, and we're trying to make it through this live without coughing, but we're not doing a very good job. Excuse me.
It's essentially there's so much that gets told to us about the way that we look, the way that we present ourselves on stage, the way that we do things that has nothing to do with our voices. That's before we even get to the singing. And then, if the singing is not absolutely perfect, then it's not valuable. It's not
Yeah.
worthwhile,
Yeah.
according to these gatekeepers.
Absolutely.
And the gatekeepers are not just the people at the top of the industry. We
No.
were just talking about that.
Yeah.
It's become something that there's a culture of gatekeeping that we feel like we have to, as a industry, people feel like they need to protect like the sanctity or the pureness of an art form. And all it really does is it makes things homogenous. It makes it like everybody has to be the same to fit into that one right way of being. And so no wonder that we're coming to this reckoning right now about diversity and equity and inclusion in the arts, that, you know, there has been historically no racial diversity in the classic arts and the performing arts. There's no gender diversity, there's no age diversity, there's no body diversity. And that's now coming to a head, and things are finally, thankfully, starting to change because people are realizing this is not working. There are way more people out there that have something valuable to offer, that have talent, that have important stories to tell, that have not been given a voice. And you know what? We're here to say that it's time to tear down those gates instead of tearing down singers.
Absolutely. And you know what? Music theater, we talk about opera all the time. We were talking earlier about a YouTube channel that was taken down, thankfully. I think it was called This is Opera or For the Love of Opera. I don't even remember, because every time I went to that site, I would just get feisty and want to yell at everybody and leave. But the entire purpose was posting videos of professional, beautiful opera singers, and then having an entire tribe of people commenting on how terrible they were and just tearing these people down. And I guarantee at some point these opera singers, who are just humans who happen to sing opera, saw these things. But music theater is potentially even worse for this, because we select types. You know, we fit into types based not really on what our voices do, but on what our bodies look like. And if our bodies and our voices don't match, if the sound that we produce doesn't match the type that we look like we ought to be, then we have to squeeze our boxes into some tiny little box, or our voices into some tiny little box, so that we can match what other people are expecting from us. And that's just, gosh, how detrimental is that? What are we absorbing into our subconscious minds? What are we absorbing into our psyches when we are putting on paper constantly, I am not what you think I am. You know, I am not what I think I am. I am not what feels most authentic to me, because I have to do what feels better to you.
Right. And this applies to all different types of music too. I remember watching an interview this is years ago, with Lenny Kravitz, and he was always criticized because his music was considered either not black enough or it wasn't white enough. And he was like in this no man's land where people just said, you're not enough of this. You're not enough of this. And he decided that he's going to be him, and he's going to do what he felt was true to his nature. And he had a rock star career. And you know what? We've done the same thing with our careers. We decided we're not going to give in to what gatekeepers tell us we are supposed to do. We're not going to say that we need to stick to this one and only correct path that is painted as the only way to do things. We're going to create success on our own terms. We're going to do the music that we want to do, and we're going to portray what we want to portray. We're going to tell the stories that we want to tell, that we think people need to hear. And you know what? We've been pretty damn successful at it. We've had incredible opportunities, some of which have been given to us, some of which we've created ourselves. And the more we are true to ourselves and we create those opportunities for ourselves, and we get out there and we tell honest, vulnerable, authentic stories and share those emotions with our audiences, then things start working, things start happening for us. And what we're here to say is that you can create success on your own terms, and you can do it in a way that is fulfilling to you, that is true and honest to you. but it really is crucial that you have a support system in place.
Absolutely. And this doesn't mean we are not advocating for the kind of support that just tells you you're doing a great job no matter what you're doing. There is certainly a place for analysis of what we're doing so that we can grow, and for having a set of ears or 2 or 3 who can recognize what you're doing in your body to produce different sounds, what might be getting in your way, how you can help yourself to get out of your way. We are not saying in any way that some type of analysis is unnecessary. It's absolutely necessary for us to grow, but it doesn't have to be cruel, and it doesn't have to be unkind. It doesn't have to tear you down to build you back up.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to fit you into the box of what everybody thinks that a singer of your type is supposed to be. So finding a community of people that can support you, but also that can build you up, that can help you understand where you're off base, that can help you understand where you need improvement, and do so in a way that is supportive, is uplifting, and is encouraging, and can tell you the truth about where you are and what your potential is, what your possibilities are, because you always have potential. You always have possibilities. Sometimes they're not what you think they are, and sometimes they're beyond what you think they are. And it can be really difficult to understand what that looks like without some outside perspective. So finding the outside perspective that is going to be beneficial to you, that's going to be uplifting, that's going to be building your career rather than tearing you down, rather than trying to build up a thicker set of armor so that you can be tough and resilient against those harsh words of criticism. That's not creating artists that are transforming the world. That's not creating artists that are able to tell stories that change people's minds and hearts.
Yes.
It's just creating a rigid, stiff art that is that's fitting the mold of what some people think it's supposed to be, to keep the purity of an art form, that if we just keep it the same all the time, it's never going to evolve. It's never going to improve. It's never going to grow with the times, and it's going to end up dying. So it's really crucial that we allow for this diversity of expression, that we allow for more ways that we can let our voices be heard, more ways that we can impart these different human emotional experiences to one another, so that we can recognize the humanity in ourselves and in one another, in other people.
So if you're a singer, here's what this looks like. It looks like you're grateful for your body, and it looks like you're grateful for the voice that it houses. It looks like you give yourself permission to express yourself using that voice in any way that you deem necessary for your spirit, for your essence to feel alive. If it means that if you're a pedagogue, or if you're a director, or someone who's in charge of singers, who's guiding singers, be gentle, be encouraging, be kind. We don't need more of the tear them down mentality. It has never done well for us. It has never, ever produced better singers.
Just scared singers.
Yeah.
Just singers that put up a wall.
Yeah.
And that's not what we need right now. We need people, we need performers, we need artists that can hit right to people's hearts, that can hit right to the core of what our experience is as human beings, that can help us to bridge all of the divides that we see in our world today.
Yes.
That can help us create connections and dissolve divisions. But we can only do that when we are allowed to feel vulnerable on stage, when we are allowed to share ourselves fully without fear of being torn down.
Yes.
And so if you're looking for a community of support that can do exactly that, that can build you up without tearing you down, that can tell you where you need to go, that can tell you what your blind spots are, that can tell you what needs to happen to find that successful and fulfilling career for yourself, that's what we do. That's what we have built our whole business around here at Sing for Your Life. So if you are looking for that, shoot us a message. Let's have a conversation, and let's see what we can do to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve in your singing career today.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and Go be kind.
Be transformative.
Yes.